first legs were completed last week, and now coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday we have the second legs of the two ties. So both ties are really still in the balance for sure. I don't think either tie is completely done, so it should be really good, should be really, really fun. Both legs were amazing to watch in the first leg, so I hope for more of the same in the second leg, but I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on how the second legs are going to go. Let me know your score predictions in the comments below, because I'll look back on them after the games are done. In terms of score predictions from the first leg, unfortunately no one in the comments did manage to get a correct score, although Luke and Kai did predict a correct result. Luke predicted PSG to beat Arsenal and Kai predicted a draw between Inter Barca. In terms of how I did not do too well. I said PSG would draw 1-1 versus Arsenal, was of course 1-0 PSG. And then I said Inter would beat Barca 2-1, and it ended 3 apiece. So, anyways, let's get into it, and we'll begin here with Inter versus Barcelona. So, this should be a banger. I mean, the first leg was one of the games of the season in terms of pure entertainment. It was a joy to watch. It was an absolute joy to watch. Now, do I think this second leg is going to be as crazy as goalmouth action? You know, we were treated to quite a spectacle with 6 goals. And usually semi-finals are pretty cagey affairs, they're pretty even games. But yeah, I mean, we got a banger last time. I do think there probably will be a little bit less goals in this second leg, just naturally, because yeah, I mean, it's very rare you get 2 legs in a Champions League semi-final which are just goals. So I don't think we're going to get quite as good a game as we got in the first leg, but it still should be fantastic. And I mean, if we have a look at the first leg, I thought Barcelona were overall probably the better side, but Inter really did hurt Barca on the counter-attack. Inter really did hurt them, and that high line at the back was getting exposed quite a bit by Inter. I know, you know, most of their goals didn't really come from that, they actually came from set pieces, but Inter Milan definitely did show moments of exploiting that high line with their deep runs. And they just sort of messed up that final ball, or missed a chance, right? And to be honest, in general for Inter, I don't actually think they need to radically do anything different. I think they can actually play a similar game to how they did in the first leg and be confident that they will actually get a win here, because to be honest, in this first leg I think they couldn't really do too much more, right? They did well to bypass the offside trap most times. As I mentioned, they just needed a bit more clinical edge in the final third. But then defensively I thought they were very, very good. You know, they did concede 3 goals, but if you're looking at the 3 goals, they were all sort of like individual brilliance from Barca, which Inter couldn't really do too much about, right? Like, if Lamine Yamal is going on a tear, there's not really a whole lot tactics or anything. There's not really a game plan you can do to stop that. But I thought in general, besides those sort of individual moments from Barca, Inter defensively were pretty solid. It wasn't like they were getting cut open time and time again. Yeah. And then set pieces, they were very good as well. Obviously scored from with 2 goals. So I actually don't think Inter really, and Inzaghi needs to change a whole lot from the first leg. They just need to really take their chances a bit more, and you know, try to limit players like Yamal. But overall, I think Inter played a pretty decent game in the first leg, and I think at home as well, that could hopefully maybe give them that edge which they need. Now, a big miss for them is Lautaro Martinez, who I do believe he's their captain and one of their best players, right? His partnership with Thuram is brilliant, and particularly with the way Inter play, on the counter attack he is fantastic. So whether it be Taremi or Arnautovic, whoever steps in, these two, they're gonna have to play a big role. They're gonna have to step up in the absence of Lautaro, who is a massive miss. That it has to be said. But apart from that, Inter got a fairly strong team. I will also say that I think they should go for Carlos Augusto over DeMarco, because while DeMarco obviously is incredible, he didn't really have a good time versus Yamal, and I actually thought maybe it was because Yamal tired, but when Augusto came on, he actually did pretty well in terms of defending Yamal for the most part of the game. So that would be another change I would make if I was Inzaghi. And yeah, they should be pretty fresh as well for this game, because I find this interesting, the sort of like strategies all four teams have deployed on the weekends ahead of the game. Inter went for a complete rotation against Hellas Verona despite being in a title race, but they managed to get the win. As you can see here, most of the entire squad, I think the only player is Bissek, who started the game. Even Sommer didn't play. So yeah, they rested everyone, so they should be well and truly prepared for this second leg. Now as for Barca, well, first I should say they are also well rested. They rested everyone versus Valladolid. It was a much changed side. Again, they managed to get a win in their title race as well. As you can see here, again, even Chesney didn't even play this game. But if we're talking about this game in particular and what Barca maybe need to change or do differently to win this, I do think the high line, or not necessarily the high line, but just stopping counter-attacks is going to be something Barca need to do. I know Barca, it's how they play with the high line, and that's perfectly fine. But I will say, maybe don't. I'm not saying drop your line, but maybe their press could be a little bit more effective in terms of stopping the pass to get in behind, or work on the offside trap a little bit better, because it was getting caught out quite a bit by Inter, and even if Inter didn't punish them, I'm not sure if they allow Inter those same chances in the second leg, that Inter are going to not take those up. So defensively, I think Barca definitely need to improve for sure, and not having Koundé is going to be a big miss, because Koundé has been fantastic, and I do believe that Bodo also won't be back in time, or he might be, but it's touch and go. So they're going to be missing their first choice fullbacks, which is going to be a loss, and considering that they weren't amazing defensively in the first place, it's not ideal. However, Barcelona's attack is terrific, that they can really outscore Inter in this second leg. I know they're away, but to be honest, I don't think that's really going to play much of a difference. When you've got two teams this good, I don't think that home or away, it really matters too much. Particularly with Barcelona as well, they're just as good at home as they are away, so I don't think that's going to play too much of a factor. Or I guess it gives Inter a slight edge being at home, but I don't think Barca are going to change the way they approach it. I don't think the pattern of play is going to change. Barca will be in control of the game. Inter are going to sit back and try and counter exactly how they did in the first leg. For Barca though, it's just about, can Yamal and Rafinha step up again? Can Ferran Torres step up? Can Pedri step up like he did as well? And getting those key individuals to perform is really going to be their route to victory here. So with all that being said, who do I think is going through, and how do I see the game playing out? It's really tough. I genuinely could see this going either way. I could see Inter winning, I could see Barca winning. I would not be surprised if this one went to penalties. these as well, because these are very, very evenly matched sides, as we saw in the first leg. I think, as I said, the pattern of play is going to be the exact same. Barcelona are going to be the ones on top. Inter are going to be sitting back trying to counter. And for me, I think I don't know. This is really tough. It's really tough. But I actually do think that this is really hard. This is really hard. You see, when this die was drawn, I mean, as you saw here, I predicted Inter to win because I thought Inter on the counter-attack would expose Barcelona. I still think they can, but I'm actually now leaning more towards Barcelona simply because I just think that Barcelona's attack is just too good. And I think if Yamal can step up, if Rafinha can step up, if Pedri can step up, which I think they all will, I think it might be too much for Inter to deal with, who, Inter have defensively been pretty good, but we saw in the first leg they can't necessarily cope too much with individual brilliance. And for that reason, I'm going to say it ends 2-1 to Barcelona. I think Barcelona are making it to the final. I just think their attack is too good for Inter. I do think Inter will score a goal, definitely on the counter-attack, because Barca's defence, as I've highlighted, is not particularly great and Inter can get at them. But I do think Barcelona will just outscore Inter in my opinion. So I have Barca going to the final, but I could see it going either way. I really, really can. It could honestly go to extra time, and I wouldn't grudge anyone for saying Inter wins either. It's honestly so close. Right, next up, the other tie is, of course, Paris Saint-Germain versus Arsenal. Now, this one is one where it's definitely not done. It's definitely not done. Anyone thinking it's over, this is the Champions League and this is a semi-final and there's only one goal. Like, it's not over, but it is a little bit more. It's not 50-50 like Barca. Inter is probably now 60-40 in PSG's favour in terms of who's going through, because of course PSG are leading by a goal in this tie and are the home team. Now, as I mentioned sort of with Barca Inter, I'm not entirely sure how much home advantage is really going to play in factor here. Like, I do think Arsenal are well and truly capable of going to Paris Saint-Germain and beating them. And Liverpool have beaten them there as well this season, so it's not like it's impossible. But with this one, I think we need to see from Arsenal, if they want to go through, a massive improvement in their game. Because for me, if this tie is similar to the first leg, PSG will 100% be progressing, because the first leg was really poor from Arsenal. They didn't really cause too many problems for PSG. They had a couple chances, didn't take those, but particularly the second half in this game, Arsenal were really poor. They didn't really cause PSG any real problems, and they're going to need a much better performance. I think they need a lot of their individual players to step up. Martinelli in the first leg really didn't cause too many problems. Hakimi is fantastic, but it's not like Hakimi is known for being this prime Kyle Walker defensively. You can get at him, but Martinelli just didn't do it enough. He didn't get the ball and try and take on Hakimi, didn't try and get past him. He's going to need to do that more. Martin Odegaard needs a much better performance. I mean, he was just really exemplified Arsenal in my opinion, just very safe, very cautious, just sort of sideways passes, never took a risk, never tried something. It felt like really only Saka was the guy doing stuff, trying to make things happen. So for me, Arsenal are going to need Barcelona, they have that individual quality, they have that individual brilliance in their side, which is capable of winning them games, which is why I predict them to win against Inter. PSG, they have that as well, with Dembele, with Kvara, like we saw in the first leg. Inter maybe necessarily don't have that, but what they have is, well, firstly, they're coming up against a really poor defence, but also they're a very well-drilled team with clear patterns of play to break down teams. The thing with Arsenal is, they of course have patterns of plays to break down teams, but it's not exactly like they're known for being this insanely well-drilled side like Inter. And they have the individuals to do it, but the individuals are not stepping up right now and did not step up in the first leg. So they're going to need to in this second leg. Now, a key bonus for them in this second leg, which is going to help their cause for sure, is, well, I didn't show it here, but Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey will return from suspension for the second leg. Now, this is going to be crucial because while I'm not going to sit and say, Thomas Partey is the game changer, we're going to see a completely different Arsenal because of Partey. It would be ignorant of me to ignore the impact it will have to Arsenal. It's going to help them in multiple ways because, firstly, Marina can step in for Trossard, and Trossard is not a good striker at all, quite frankly. He's pretty poor, so Marina can go to up front, where Arsenal now have a better striker up top who can cause Marquinhos and Pacho some better problems than Trossard did. But then that also means Declan Rice can move into this role where, I don't think Marino was bad, but he didn't really cause too many problems in the midfield for PSG. And overall, they lost the midfield battle fairly easily to Neves, Fabian Ruiz and Vitinha. So hopefully now with Rice and Partey in that midfield, they could potentially try and win that midfield battle a little bit better. And Partey can provide a bit more defensive stability than a Rice, who, again, I don't think was bad, but maybe for the goal could have done a little bit better. Maybe Partey in that situation picks up Dembele because he's more of a natural defender. But yeah, I think it's going to have an impact, of course, having Partey back. But as I said, I don't think it's going to be like a completely different Arsenal here. I think we need to change a couple things if they want to get back in the tie. Nonetheless, Arsenal can get back in the tie. They did create some chances, of course, against PSG, and if it wasn't for Donnarumma, they maybe would be drawing or even winning. So, look, Arsenal, they need to change some things, but they definitely can do it for sure. They're going to need Timber and Lewis Kelly to be good. Timber is going to have to step up. He struggled a little bit in the first half against Kavicha, but he did do well towards the end of the game. He's going to have to be on it from minute one. Same with Lewis Kelly to stop them defensively. Arsenal need to be on point here. And hopefully as well for Arsenal, I do think set pieces are going to be something which is going to be great for them. And they should try and utilise, because I know we all sort of joke about set piece FC, but actually I thought in this first leg, PSG, if there is one weakness about them, is they seem a bit poor on set pieces. A couple of the set pieces weren't amazingly dealt with by PSG. In general, they're quite a small, quite a timid side, so you can sort of bully them if you have the right delivery and stuff, so maybe that's something they can do. But yeah, as for PSG though, well, I think it's more of the same really. I think they need to just control the game, control the possession. Arsenal will probably try and press them a lot at points, and PSG did well to break that press. They need to try and do that more of the same. And I think really for them, try and kill the tie. If you get the first goal, that is going to be huge. So I think you need to really have the initiative to take the first goal. You shouldn't be resting on your laurels here. I don't think they will. But yeah, really more of the same from PSG. Mendes is going to have to step up yet again against Saka. this entire campaign. The midfield trio were incredible versus Arsenal, and they're gonna need to have the same effect in terms of controlling the game, taking the sting out of the game when maybe Arsenal have a bit of momentum in it. And then of course the front three, we all know how dangerous they can be. They've shown their qualities and they're gonna need to be crucial in this one yet again. I really saw similar to Inter. I don't think PSG, particularly Enrique, needs to change anything drastically from the first leg. It's really just more of the same. Try and take your chances a little bit more is one thing, because we did have some chances like Ramos on Barca to really kill the tie and get a second goal, but they didn't take them. So PSG, they're gonna have to take those chances this time, because if you don't take your chances, don't kill the game. We have seen this PSG defence be susceptible at the back, so yeah, take your chances, more of the same really. I think they should play the game on the front foot, trying to get the first goal. The first goal for sure is going to be very crucial in this game, because PSG get it, they're 2 goals up. Arsenal are going to need 3 goals to win the game. I'm not entirely sure if Arsenal are capable of doing that, but if Arsenal score first, we're level and it's an even playing field, so I think the first goal will be absolutely vital in this game. Now, another key interesting thing as well to note is a thing I mentioned earlier. It's pretty interesting, there's all the different strategies the teams employ in the game before. PSG rested entirely against Strasbourg. They did lose, but you can't really read much into that, because I mean, look at that, the team besides Joao Neves, no one was starting the game who has started against Arsenal in the first leg. So yeah, PSG, they have the luxury of doing so, considering they've already won the league. Now Arsenal could also rest players if they wanted to, but they went full strength and of course lost at home to Bournemouth, which is not good preparation, because I can see the idea. He wanted a confidence booster for them, get them match ready, match sharp for the game, but really did not work. And they are going into this off the back of a pretty embarrassing loss here to Bournemouth, so poor preparation for this game. But I don't really think, I'm not going to read entirely into that, because the Champions League and League is separate things here. But anyways, how do I see this game playing out? So, I think that PSG will probably be the ones on the front foot. I think Arsenal, they're not going to go gung-ho. They don't need to from the off. It's only 1 goal, right? They don't need to do anything silly and commit a load of bodies forward. So I think PSG will be looking to try and kill the tie. They always start extremely strong in games, and I think they're going to start extremely strong here, and I actually do think they'll probably score first. That's going to mean Arsenal are going to come pushing out and trying to get a goal, and I do think actually they will get a goal, because PSG kind of, when they're under siege, they can't really cope. So I do think Arsenal will score, but I think Arsenal going for the goals is going to open up spaces for PSG on the counter, who are deadly on the counter, and I think they'll get a late goal to win the game 2-1, and I think PSG will progress in this tie. I think PSG will do it, but I could see it going either way. Like I said about the Inter Barca game, I would not be surprised if Arsenal won this tie for sure. They're very even games, but I have it being a Barcelona and PSG final. Let's see what happens though. Anyways, before we go, I do want to just quickly do a Europa League prediction for the second legs and a little review of the semi-finals, because I didn't do a review of the first legs. Now, we did see a pretty shocking result here, because Man United beat Bilbao 3-0 in the first leg. Bruno brace. Now, Bilbao of course had 10 men, but yeah, this tie looks like it's pretty much over. Now, it's not completely over, because I mean, in a normal scenario, I would say it is, but Man United, we all know just how bad they have been this season. So, I mean, we saw Lyon, right? They went to Old Trafford and scored 4 goals on their head. So, I'm not going to sit here and say this tie is completely over, but it would be daft of me to, predict Bilbao overturn this. But United should be a little bit cautious. The tie is going to be really difficult over Bilbao because they're missing Danny Vivian, who is obviously really done for the red card, but was and has been one of their best players. He's their best defender, so that's a big miss. And then Oyan Sunset is, I believe, still not ready for this game, who again is one of their best players. So Bilbao, I go in there with a pretty depleted squad, and their performance was pretty bad in this game, although of course they did have 10 men. But to be fair, up until the 10 men, they did cause a couple problems for United. They had some chances, and Archie Williams had a good chance. But yeah, United, they should progress in this tie being at home. I think Bilbao will give them a game, but in the end I think it will end 1-1. I think United will go through to the final, and you do have to give them massive credit for that performance, to be fair. Now this one is a little bit more interesting because it did look at one point like it was going to be another 3-0 victory here, but Bodo Glimt pulled a late goal back in the 83rd minute here. So it ended 3-1 Spurs versus Bodo Glimt in the first leg. Now this tie is obviously heavily in favour of Spurs, but that goal does mean this tie is definitely not over like the United Bilbao one, because again, like United, we all know how bad Spurs have been this season, so I can't completely trust them. But also Bodo Glimt, while they were not great in this game, like look at that, they only had 3 shots the entire game. Bodo Glimt at home are a very different prospect and are extremely, extremely good. Very, very good at home, and they have beaten a lot of teams at home, so this is going to be a tricky one for Spurs. Apparently as well, it says here, they might be missing Solanke, Maddison and Son, and if they are missing those 3, that is a big miss. Yeah. But look, the advantage is with Spurs, but there is definitely a chance here with Bodo Glimt that they could pull off a comeback here being at home, and as I mentioned, they're very, very solid and strong at home. That being said, I just think the golfing class here might be a little bit too much for Bodo Glimt, and I think it will end. I think it might end. I think it will also do 1-1, to be honest. I think it'll be 1-1. I think maybe Bodo Glimt might score the first goal, but in the end Spurs will score another and sort of settle the nerves. So yeah, I have it being a Spurs and Man United final, which I really hope is not the case as a Chelsea fan, but I think that is what we're shaping up for, although I would love for Bodo Glimt to pull off the comeback here, and I definitely think there's a possibility of them doing it. There definitely is a chance, but I don't think it will happen. And I guess very quickly, the Conference League. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea, as expected, comfortably beat Djurgården 4-1 away from home in the first leg. Job done. This tie is, or should be over. I mean, we did lose to Legia also at home, so yeah, but hopefully we can rotate for the second leg. Now, who's joining us in the final is a little bit more up for grabs. Betis did beat Fiorentina in this one, but it was only 2-1, although Betis did kind of banner Fiorentina. They were definitely the better side in this game, and Anthony the GOAT stepped up, scoring in a Europa League semi-final, Conference League semi-final, sorry, a really good goal. Yeah, he stepped up, he clutched up. I mean, for all the memes, we actually have to be serious here. He is actually doing very well, and that is a huge goal in this tie to give Betis the win. Fiorentina being at home, they might have a better chance here, and it is only 1 goal, so this game is definitely out of all the other ties I mentioned in the Europa League and Conference League, the closest one, and I'm looking forward to it. I do think though Betis, they were a very good side in the first leg, I think they'll get the job done in the second leg. I'm gonna say it ends Betis, same thing, 2-1. They're gonna win away from home as well, 2-1. Anthony brace to send them to the final. So yeah. Anyways, those are my Champions League, Europa League and Conference League predictions. Let me know your predictions